My sisters, the Goddess Collective has a story for you. Feel the Goddess tug on your heartstring, and remember what you've been yearning for. Gather round the fire, just as your ancestors once did, and listen to the call of the Goddess Collective.
The elderly woman tucked a strand of still gray hair back underneath the hood of her dark cloak. She continued her quick walk along the forest pathway. Shadowy shapes kept pace with her, and she gave her hounds a fond smile. The pale, full moonlight filtered between the leaves, lighting the path, but even without it, she could have found her way. She'd taken this route many, many times. The dense trees parted, revealing a large meadow. White moonflowers glowed with ethereal beauty amid the tall grass. 2 enormous stone pillars rose from the ground. Sentinels guarded the sacred space beyond them. The woman's hounds brayed and raced to the stones, to slip between them, tails wagging with joy. The old woman hastened her pace, suddenly eager to see her sisters. A trail of power pulsed over her skin as she strode between the pillars. The magic caressed her a moment before letting her pass. Pausing, she gazed down into a huge amphitheater already filled with women laughing and talking with each other. A many-armed woman wearing a sunny yellow and ruby-red sari hurried up the stairs and bowed before the old woman. "Hecate," Durga said, a smile lighting up her black eyes. "You've made it. We worried, as late as it is, you wouldn't be here." Hecate drew the younger woman into an embrace. "There's trouble in the human world, but then, when isn't there? I wouldn't miss this. I love gathering with my sisters." Hecate's gaze flicked to the side, where Durga's tiger lounged beside the pillars. Hecate's hounds licked the tiger's face, then greeted the other goddesses' animals. Done with the pleasantries, the hounds sank onto the ground, facing the pillar opening. The many familiars of the goddesses would guard them, keeping them safe from any outside interference. Hecate slowly made her way down the stairs, nodding greetings to those she passed. The Egyptians sat together, Isis in regal quiet, while Hathor and Bast bent their heads to each other and giggled. The beautiful Amaterasu, wearing a red kimono, broke off her conversation with the tall, willowy Kuan Yin to raise her hand as Hecate walked past. The Tibetan Tora, in her green Tara aspect, smiled shyly, tucking a lock of green hair behind her slightly pointed ears. The women in the stands represented every culture and race known to humans, including some that had been forgotten in the mists of time. A few like Tara, the Native American white buffalo woman, and the Hindu contingent hailed from the stars. They came to Gaia to help in her children's evolution. Regardless of when or where they originated, each goddess willingly served the Great Mother, the feminine avatar of Source. When Gaia, the goddess who chose to incarnate as a planet, called, they hurried to answer her pleas. They worked as a cooperative collective to assist humanity in their spiritual growth. Hecate sighed. In some epochs, this was an easier task than others. The current epoch was proving to be especially difficult. The evolution of Gaia's human children had taken a strong turn from their evolutionary path, taking them away from Source and deep into their personal greed and cruelty. And as they'd found out, humans could be so cruel and horrible to each other. Hecate shuddered as she remembered the hundreds of years her daughters, the human women, had suffered unspeakable torture at the hands of men. Their only crimes were being female and worshipping the goddess. In response, the women had closed their connection to the goddess and to their own innate divinity. buying into the lie that they were somehow responsible for the world's evil. Hecate's hands fisted and flashes of lightning leaped from her eyes. "Calm yourself," the Roman Minerva said gently, appearing at Hecate's side. Dark brown curls framed her oval face and green eyes. She wore a shiny Tyrian purple silk stola with a saffron yellow linen paya. "We shall right the wrongs done to our daughters, but we cannot do so by falling into the depraved depths humans are capable of. It is not our way, or that of the Great Mother." "You're right." Hecate took a deep breath, unclenched her hands, and closed her eyes. Once she had regained her inner balance, she opened them again. "There," Minerva said, patting Hecate's arm. "Much better. Shall we go find our seats so the meeting may begin?" They continued down the stairs to the bottom where they found their seats. The Sumerian Inanna looked up, nudging her sister Eurishkigal to scoot over to make room for them. Hecate settled on the wide step, drawing back the hood of her cloak, and waited. An altar decorated with flowers, fruits, nuts, and grains graced the central stage, representing the bounty of Mother Earth. Wisps of fragrant incense wafted over the assembled goddesses. The sweet, high tones of a bell rang throughout the amphitheater. The women stood up, clasped hands, and began to hum, slowly growing to a Ma chant, the predominant sound of the mother. Ma, 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 ma. Hecate closed her eyes, letting the gathering energy sink deep inside her. Her earlier anger drained away as the sound spiraled around the group, spiraling higher and higher until it peaked. Hecate opened her eyes, and a figure appeared next to the altar. At first, a mist shrouded the stage, but as the last tones faded, the obscuring fog dissipated. A voluptuous blue-green woman stood with her arms stretched above her, her head thrown back in ecstasy. The tips of her green curls, threaded with flowers of all description, trailed the ground. With a sigh, all the goddesses sank to their knees, their heads bowed in reverence. Intense, unconditional love and unending compassion radiated from the woman, wrapping them in peace and contentment like a warm, snuggly blanket. Hecate reveled in it, letting the sensations drive away all her remaining fears and worry. Mother Earth, Gaia, was here. All was well. Hecate, as the eldest, was the first to rise, her sisters following her lead. She sat down and gazed adoringly at her mother. Gaia returned the gaze, the sky blue of her eyes deepening to night black, with stars reflected in their depths. Gaia's rosy lips curved into a smile. "Blessings, my children, my daughters!" Gaia's voice sang with love and joy. "Isn't it a lovely night for gathering together and reconnecting with each other?" Hecate nodded and shouted, "Yes!" A chorus of agreement accompanied her. She always loved these gatherings, but tonight was special. "The alignment of the stars and planets," Gaia said, "brings with it new opportunities for us to influence and transform my human children. It is time, my darling daughters, to reawaken the women of the world to the truth of who they are. Divine daughters of Source! So many women have been calling and praying for this change. They see the troubles around them and plead for help. the urgings of their souls, cry to reconnect in unity with other women and with us. It is time to redirect the evolution of my world and of my children back to where it should be so that they and I can reach our full potential greatness. But we cannot do this by force or through fighting. Her gaze caught Hecate's eyes, then slid to Durga, Athena, Diana, Morgan, and the other warrior goddesses. It must be done through opening of women's hearts and souls to their spiritual truth. They are powerful, for they are the reflection and manifestation of us. They hold the fate of the world in their hands and wombs and hearts. They will transform the world through their love, compassion, caring, and nurturing. They will return balance, harmony, and synergy to their cultures and people. For this is the way toward our greatness. They must remember to work together in cooperation and partnership, not in competition. Our daughters are ready. Our daughters are willing. Our daughters are waiting. Will you allow them to languish in despair? Shouts of "No!" echoed across the amphitheater. Then go, my darling daughters. Gaia's eyes glowed with intensity. She thrust out her hands in supplication, lowering her voice. Go, my daughters, and teach them. Help them to be who they are. It is our only hope. It's our only hope. The misty fog once again enveloped Gaia, and when it dispersed, Gaia had returned to her home, deep in the planet's core. Minerva turned to Hecate. We have our work cut out for us. Where do we even start? Hecate cocked her head to the side, a smile slowly spreading across her face. We listen, Minerva. We listen. Can't you hear their prayers? Can't you hear their pleading? Minerva sat a moment, her eyes half closed as she concentrated. Yes, Hecate, I can hear them. So many. I had not thought there were that many women seeking us. It's a good thing there are so many of us, Hecate retorted. She stood up and guided her siblings out of the amphitheater to begin their work. As she crossed the threshold of the sentinel pillars, her torch flared with dazzling brilliance. She sent her calling through the ether, beckoning and guiding the souls of Earth's women to the light they'd been yearning for. The light of the goddess. And you, my dear sisters, each one of you who are reading or listening to this story, is one of those women who yearn to know the goddess. Know with surety you have been heard, and the goddess loves you. And the goddess loves you, my dear sisters. Come, join me in the dance of the goddess, in love and joy. Call of the Goddess Collective, a short story by Tora. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved.